Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. General Psychology, Children, 15th edition, Chapter 1, narrated by Omar Mohsen Ibrahim Fouad. Time now is 12:38 p.m. Today is Thursday, May 14th, 2026, in Tallahassee, Florida. Children, 15th edition. Chapter 1, Introduction. Learning Goals. Explain why it is important to research children's development and identify 5 areas in which children's lives need to be improved. Discuss processes, periods, cohort effects, and issues in development. Summarize why research is important in child development, the main theories of child development and research methods, designs, and challenges. Why is caring for children important? Development, the pattern of change that begins at conception and continues throughout the lifespan. Importance of studying children's development, becoming a better parent or educator, gaining insight into how your childhood experiences have shaped the person you are today. Improving the lives of children. In children's development, important roles are played by health and well-being, parenting, education, socio-cultural contexts, social policy. Socio-cultural contexts and diversity. Dimensions of the socio-cultural context: culture, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, and gender help to mold how an individual develops through life. Context: the settings influenced by historical, economic, social, and cultural factors in which development occurs. Sociocultural contexts and diversity. Culture: the behavior patterns, beliefs, and all other products of a group that are passed on from generation to generation. Cross-cultural studies, comparisons of one culture with one or more other cultures. Ethnicity, a characteristic based on cultural heritage, nationality, race, religion, and language. Sociocultural contexts and diversity. Socioeconomic status, SES, an individual's position within society based on occupational, educational, and economic characteristics. Socioeconomic status implies certain inequalities. Gender refers to the characteristics of people as males and females. Resilience, social policy, and children's development. Some children develop confidence in their abilities despite negative stereotypes about their gender or their ethnic group. Some triumph over poverty or other adversities. These children show resilience. Source. Characteristic. Source, individual. Characteristic, good intellectual functioning. Appealing, sociable. Easygoing disposition, self-confidence, high self-esteem, talents, faith. Source, family. Characteristic, close relationship to caring parent figure, authoritative parenting, warmth, structure, high expectations, socioeconomic advantages, connections to extend supportive family networks. Figure 1. Characteristics of resilient children and their contexts. Figure 2. Exposure to 6 stressors among poor and middle-income children. One study analyzed the exposure to 6 stressors among poor children and middle-income children. Evans and English, 2002. Poor children were much more likely to face each of these stressors. Resilience, social policy, and children's development. Social policy is a government's course of action designed to promote the welfare of its citizens. Comprehensive social policies are often created when many are concerned about a social issue. Child labor laws to protect children, federal child care funding during World War II, Head Start, and other war on poverty programs. What categorizes development? Each of us develops in certain ways, like all individuals, like some other individuals, and like no other individuals. Psychologists who study development are drawn to our shared characteristics as well as what makes us unique. Biological, cognitive, and socio-emotional processes. Biological processes are factors that produce changes in an individual's body. Cognitive processes are factors that produce changes in an individual's thought, intelligence, and language. Socio-emotional processes are factors that involve changes in an individual's relations with other people, changes in emotions, and changes in personality. Biological, cognitive, and socio-emotional processes. Connection across biological, cognitive, and socio-emotional processes is considered in two rapidly emerging fields: developmental cognitive neuroscience, developmental social neuroscience. Biological, cognitive, and socio-emotional processes interact and can influence each other. Figure 3. Changes in development are the result of biological, cognitive, and socio-emotional processes. Biological, cognitive, and socio-emotional processes interact as individuals develop. Periods of development. Prenatal period is the time from conception to birth. Infancy is the developmental period that extends from birth through 18 to 24 months of age. Early childhood is the developmental period that extends from the end of infancy to about 5 to 6 years of age, sometimes called the preschool years. Periods of development. Middle and late childhood is the developmental period that extends from about 6 to 11 years of age, sometimes called the elementary school years. Adolescence is the developmental period of transition from childhood to early adulthood entered at approximately 10 to 12 years of age and ending at 18 to 22 years of age. Periods of development: prenatal period, infancy, early childhood, middle and late childhood, adolescence. Processes of development. Figure 4, processes and periods of development. Development moves through the prenatal, infancy, early childhood, middle and late childhood, and adolescence periods. These periods of development are the result of biological, cognitive, and socio-emotional processes. Cohort effects. Cohort effects. Effects due to a person's time of birth, era, and generation, but not to actual age. Millennials, the generation born after 1980, that is the first to come of age and enter emerging adulthood in the new millennium. Characterized by their ethnic diversity and their connection to technology. Issues in development. Nature-nurture issue. The historical issue regarding whether development is primarily influenced by nature or nurture. Nature, proponents claimed that biological inheritance was the more important influence on development. Nurture, proponents asserted that environmental experiences were more important. Issues in development. Continuity, discontinuity issue. The issue regarding whether development involves gradual, cumulative change, continuity, or distinct stages, discontinuity. Early-later experience issue. The issue of the degree to which early experiences, especially infancy or later experiences, are the key determinants of the child's development. Issues in development. Evaluating the developmental issues. Nature and nurture. Continuity and discontinuity. And early and late experiences all play a part in development through nature and nurture, continuity and discontinuity, and early and late experiences all play a part in development through the human lifespan. Nature and nurture, continuity and discontinuity, and early and late experiences all play a part in development throughout the human lifespan. Spirited debate regarding the strength of each influence continues among researchers. The importance of research. Science is defined not by what it investigates, but by how it investigates. Scientific research is objective, systematic, and testable. It reduces the likelihood that information will be based on personal beliefs, opinions, and feelings. The importance of research. Scientific research is based on the scientific method. Scientific method, an approach that can be used to obtain accurate information. Conceptualize the problem, collect data, draw conclusions, revise research conclusions and theory. The importance of research. Theory, an interrelated, coherent set of ideas that helps to explain and make predictions. Hypothesis, a specific assumption or prediction that can be tested to determine its accuracy. Theories of child development. Psychoanalytic theories. Psychoanalytic theories, theories describing development as primarily unconscious and heavily colored by emotion. Behavior is merely a surface characteristic. Symbolic workings of the mind have to be analyzed to understand behavior. Early experiences with parents are emphasized. Figure 6. Freudian stages. Sigmund Freud thought as children grow up, their focus of pleasure and sexual impulses shifts from the mouth to the anus and eventually to the genitals. As a result, we go through 5 stages of psychosexual development. Oral stage, infant's pleasure centers on the mouth, birth to 1.5 years. Anal stage, child's pleasure focuses on the anus, 1.5 to 3 years. Phallic stage, child's pleasure focuses on the genitals, 3 to 6 years. Latency stage, child represses sexual interest and develops social and intellectual skills, 6 years to puberty. Genital stage, a time of sexual reawakening. Source of sexual pleasure becomes someone outside the family. Puberty onward. Figure 7. Erikson's 8 lifespan stages. Like Freud, Erik Erikson proposed that individuals go through distinct universal stages of development. Erikson's stages, developmental period. Erikson's stages, integrity versus despair, developmental period, late adulthood, 60s onward. Generativity versus stagnation, middle adulthood, 40s, 50s. Intimacy versus isolation, early adulthood, 20s, 30s. Identity versus identity confusion, adolescence, 10 to 20 years. Industry versus inferiority, middle and late childhood. Elementary school years, 6 years to puberty. Initiative versus guilt. Early childhood, preschool years, 3 to 5 years. Autonomy versus shame and doubt. Infancy, 1 to 3 years. Trust versus mistrust. Infancy, 1st year. Evaluating the psychoanalytic theories. Contributions of psychoanalytic theories. Early experiences play an important part in development. Family relationships are a central aspect of development. Personality can be better understood if it is examined developmentally. Activities of the mind are not entirely conscious. Unconscious aspects need to be considered. In Erikson's theory, changes take place in adulthood as well as in childhood. Evaluating the psychoanalytic theories. Criticisms. Main concepts are difficult to test scientifically. Much of the data used to support these theories come from individuals, reconstruction of the past, and are of unknown accuracy. Sexual underpinnings of development are given too much importance. Unconscious mind is given too much credit for influencing development. Psychoanalytic theories present an image of humans that is too negative and are culture and gender biased. Theories of child development. Cognitive theories. Cognitive theories emphasize conscious thoughts. Piaget's theory. Children actively construct their understanding of the world and go through 4 stages of cognitive development. Figure 8. Piaget's 4 stages of cognitive development. sensory motor stage. The infant constructs an understanding of the world by coordinating sensory experiences with physical actions. An infant progresses from reflexive, instinctual action at birth to the beginning of symbolic thought toward the end of the stage. Birth to 2 years of age. Proportional stage. The child begins to represent the world with words and images. These words and images reflect increased symbolic thinking and go beyond the connection of sensory information and physical action. 2 to 7 years of age. Concrete operational stage. The child can now reason logically about concrete events and classify objects into different sets. 7 to 11 years of age. Formal operational stage. The adolescent reasons in more abstract, idealistic, and logical ways. 11 years of age through adulthood. Theories of child development, cognitive theories. Vygotsky's theory, a sociocultural cognitive theory that emphasizes how culture and social interaction guide cognitive development. Information processing theory emphasizes that individuals manipulate information, monitor it, and strategize about it. Central to this theory are the processes of memory and thinking. Microgenetic method seeks to discover not just what the child knows, but the cognitive processes involved in knowledge acquisition. Evaluating the cognitive theories. Primary contributions of cognitive theories present a positive view of development, emphasizing conscious thinking, emphasize the individual's active construction of understanding. Pygotsky's and Vygotsky's theory underscore the importance of examining developmental changes in children's thinking. Information processing theory offers detailed descriptions of cognitive processes. Evaluating the cognitive theories. Criticisms. Pygotsky's stages are not as uniform as he theorized. Pygot underestimated infants' cognitive skills and overestimated the cognitive skills of adolescents. Cognitive theories do not give adequate attention to individual variations in cognitive development. Information processing theory does not provide an adequate description of developmental changes in cognition. Some theorists argue that the cognitive theories do not give enough credit to unconscious thought. Theories of child development. Behavioral and social cognitive theories. Ivan Pavlov's classical conditioning. Neutral stimulus acquires the ability to produce a response originally produced by another stimulus. B.F. Skinner's operant conditioning. Consequences of a behavior produce changes in the probability of the behavior's occurrence. Behavior followed by a rewarding stimulus is more likely to recur. Behavior followed by a rewarding stimulus is more likely to recur. Behavior followed by a punishing stimulus is less likely to recur. Theories of child development, behavioral and social cognitive theories. Albert Bandura's social cognitive theory. Social cognitive theory, behavior, environment, and cognition are the key factors in development. Early research focused on observational learning, also called imitation or modeling. People cognitively represent the behavior of others and then sometimes adopt this behavior. Figure 9. Bandura's social cognitive model. The arrows illustrate how relations between behavior, person and cognition, and environment are reciprocal rather than unidirectional. Evaluating the behavioral and social cognitive theories. Contributions of the behavioral and social cognitive theories. Emphasis on the importance of scientific research. Focus on environmental causes of behavior. Identification and explanation of observational learning by Bandura. Inclusion of person and cognitive factors in social cognitive theory. Evaluating the behavioral and social cognitive theories. Criticisms. Too little emphasis on cognition in Pavlov and Skinner's theories. Too much emphasis on environmental determinants. Inadequate attention given to developmental changes. Inadequate recognition of human spontaneity and creativity. Theories of child development. Ethological and ecological theories. Ethology stresses that behavior is strongly influenced by biology, is tied to evolution, and is characterized by critical or sensitive periods. Konrad Lorenz, John Bowlby. Ecological theories emphasizes environmental factors. Bronfenbrenner's ecological theory is an environmental systems theory that focuses on 5 environmental systems. Figure 10, Yuri Bronfenbrenner's ecological theory of development. Bronfenbrenner's ecological theory consists of 5 environmental systems: microsystem, mesosystem, exosystem, macrosystem, and chronosystem. Theory. Issue, nature and nurture. Issue, early and later experience. Issue, continuity and discontinuity. An eclectic theoretical orientation. These theories are helpful guides, but reliance on a single theory is problematic. Eclectic theoretical orientation does not follow any one theoretical approach, but rather selects from each theory whatever is considered its best features. Research methods for collecting data. Observation. To be effective, observations must be systematic. Where should observations be made? Laboratory, a controlled setting in which many of the complex factors of the real world are removed. Naturalistic observation,
behaviors observed in real-world settings. Other research methods: survey, a questionnaire and interview. Standardized test, a test with uniform procedures for administration and scoring. Case study, an in-depth look at a single individual. Physiological measures, which include hormone levels, neuroimaging, heart rate, and eye movements. Research designs, descriptive research, a research design that has the purpose of observing and recording behavior. Correlational research, a research design whose goal is to describe the strength of the relationship between two or more events or characteristics. Correlation coefficient, a number based on statistical analyses that is used to describe the degree of association between two variables. Research designs, experiment, a carefully regulated procedure in which one or more of the factors believed to influence the behavior being studied are manipulated, while all other factors are held constant. Consists of independent, manipulated, and dependent measured variables. Experimental group, the group's experience is manipulated. Control group, a comparison group treated the same way except for the manipulated factor. Random assignment, participants are assigned to the experimental and control groups by chance. Figure 16, Principles of Experimental Research. Imagine that you decide to conduct an experiment study of the effects of aerobic exercise by pregnant women on their newborns' breathing and sleeping patterns. You would randomly assign pregnant women to experimental and control groups. The experimental group, women would engage in aerobic exercise over a specified number of sessions and weeks. The control group would not. Then, when the infants are born, you would assess their breathing and sleeping patterns. If the breathing and sleeping patterns of newborns whose mothers were in the experimental group are more positive than those of the control group, you would conclude that aerobic exercise caused the positive effects. Time span of research. Cross-sectional approach, a research strategy in which individuals of different ages are compared at one time. Longitudinal approach, a research strategy in which the same individuals are studied over a period of time, usually several years or more. Research challenges, conducting ethical research. Protect the rights of research subjects. Do not cause any harm. Adhere to a code of ethics, APA's ethics guidelines. Informed consent, confidentiality, debriefing, deception. Minimizing bias. Gender bias consists of preconceived ideas about female and male abilities that prevent individuals from pursuing their own interests and potential. Research reports sometimes magnify any differences observed. Cultural and ethnic bias has led to excluding minorities and considering them as variations from the norm. Ethnic gloss, the use of an ethnic label in a superficial way that portrays an ethnic group as more homogeneous than it really is. Review, explain why it is important to research children's development and identify 5 areas in which children's lives need to be improved. Discuss processes, periods, cohort effects, and issues in development. Summarize why research is important in child development, the main theories of child development, and research methods, designs, and challenges. The time now is 3:47 p.m. Today is Thursday, May 14th, 2026. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.